Welcome to Playing with Fire, the podcast for people who are ready to custom build their love.
We're talking about non-monogamy, however you design it, as an individuation opportunity.
Want to leave the default and make your life spectacularly you? You're in the right place. Yay, Megan! I'm so happy you're here with me.
Hi, Jolie. I'm ecstatic to be here with you. I love our time together.
I totally love our time together. And, hopping on this particular call in this particular moment of each of our lives will make a particular conversation. But you are one of the people in the world who I'm like, it doesn't actually matter what's going on in my life, in my head, what's happening. It'll be good. It's going to be good. So, yay.
Oh, I love that. That sounds like a secure friendship we have.
It does, doesn't it? I'm like, I know I can show up exactly as I am. And
ditto,
Yeah.
ditto, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm feeling the relationship energy already, just being here with you. And I wanted to comment real quick before we get into things that Ken's not with me on this episode only because he's in an important meeting that he's just on a deadline. So Ken also loves time talking to Megan. So he is currently sending his best and wanted to give you a big virtual hug because
Thank you. And
yeah,
ditto.
life.
Ditto. I can't wait to give you guys real hugs in person.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So this is what we're talking about though. We're finally going to be in meet space. So you and I tried to get together and create real space activity last year and every possible thing got in the way. But this year, nothing will stop us because
it's happening.
The Nature of Relating retreat is happening in Costa Rica, where you live, in November 9th to 14th, right? That's when we scheduled.
Yeah.
And it's us. And I'm so excited. And I wanted to introduce you again. I know some of my audience has listened to our back catalog and they'll have heard from you. And I'm sure some of them are familiar with you from Amory podcast. But yeah, we're going to do this thing. So let's tell them, what does it mean to talk about the nature of relating? Why are we going to Costa Rica? Why that even?
Why not? Really, why not? It is so beautiful. So just a little backstory on how we ended up in Costa Rica, because we currently live there now with my husband, our two kids, and then our partners. And so we started traveling around the world 4.5 years ago, sold our house, started traveling. And it's like, I knew in my heart we were looking for a new place to live. We just didn't know where it was going to be. And we ended up in Costa Rica after many countries, many continents. And it just feels like home. It feels beautiful. We get to connect with the elements of nature every day. I live right on the beach. So I wake up and watch the ocean and the waves roll in. And there's something so therapeutic about that. Walking on the beach, feeling my feet on the sand and feeling grounded by the earth, having sun, so much sun, and also periods of rain. It's just like, it is so therapeutic for my body. So that's why Costa Rica, because literally I feel like it brings my nervous system to a more calm, grounded place. And so I'm so excited to invite people to experience Costa Rica, because being held in nature like that, I feel like we have access to a different part of our body, of our consciousness, of this more connected feel with being a part of nature. So that's just even the backdrop of what it is that we're doing.
But the backdrop matters so much.
It does. That's what we're held in, you know? And when you're held in a space like that, when your nervous system calms down and you're like, oh, I feel good here. I feel safe. I feel energized and peaceful at the same time. And now I'm with this incredible group of people who also are understanding and like-minded, and I feel safe with them. And you asked the question, what does it mean, the title, the nature of relating? To me, that phrase came up at least a couple months ago, when I realized that what I was personally doing was this inquiry into the nature of relating. And then I thought it was kind of a fun play on words, because coming to Costa Rica, we're in nature. And so, but no, really, what does it mean to relate? That question is so simple, and yet to me is so profound. we spend our whole lives relating to ourselves, relating to others, relating to our environment, relating to everything. To me, that is my filter on life. We don't exist except through our relationships, because that's how we see ourselves, and we see ourselves in contrast or in similarity or in connection. There's like in the whole universe, and this is where Ken and I like to geek out, is like everything, the planets, the stars, the universe. It's like, and even down to the smallest molecular level, the atoms, they are all in relationship to each other. And so they're sharing something, they are bonded by something, whether or not that is gravity, that is a pull, that is they're sharing an electron. It's like, and then to me, it's like, what are we actually sharing between people? And I'm just fascinated by that question. Like, what you and I have a friendship, a relationship. Like, what actually are we exchanging?
Right.
We're exchanging information and energy and pieces of ourselves and a knowing. And I'm fascinated by it. And so that's like my inner geek coming out, saying like, who else is fascinated by this human experience of relating? And when we get to put that into the context of a relationship structure in particular, when you step out of the mold and the script of monogamy, and you're realizing, well, I can relate however I want to relate. Like, I don't even know how to be in that freedom, that space. Like, I get to make my agreements, I get to feel what I feel. Like, it's to me so delicious, like this topic. So I want to geek out on this topic with other people. I want to hear from you and others. I want to create a space to ask questions, to dive deep, to explore our consciousness, to explore what there is in between us, like all of that. That was a very long answer, but does that make sense?
Oh, well, it makes sense to my body. My body's like a full yes, Megan. Yes. So I want to just mention, for the people who imagine that I might be a full yes because this sounds easy for me, I just want to say it wasn't. And I'm not like a natural traveler. I am not a person who's ever just like put everything she owns in a car and driven across even the country, let alone around the world. I instead have been incredibly rooted to exactly the land where I was raised. I still live there. And so my experience is so much about being rooted in this place that for me, going to Costa Rica is an adventure. It is pushing my edges, right? And invites me into that space of like, well, so who am I when I am not feeling that rootedness, the rootedness that I have here in my little Western Massachusetts valley that I'm in? What is relationship for me when I change that context? But also, like, it is a little scary. And that, I think, is like right at the heart of what people are often like, this is what they're doing often when they're listening to Playing with Fire, is they're often thinking about or having just shifted something inside of themselves to make space for relating in a different way, or at least contemplating like, what happens if I try to really make conscious agreements? What happens if I design my relationship for me, for the people I'm relating to? And that can be the most terrifying thing that you've ever done. If it's where, like, if you've always been in the default, I lived in the default for 33 and a third years. And it was like jumping off a cliff. For me, the mirror is about like, even just going to Costa Rica is a bit of a cliff jump for me. A good one, a safe one, because I get to land where you are, which is lovely. But also, like, I feel like it also puts me in the same space that other people who are joining us will be having their own like dysregulation and their own experience of like, do I belong? Am I geeky enough, or am I open enough, or am I right? I can imagine people with these ideas about whether they belong, but I think you and I agree that the answer is, if you're interested in the nature of how we relate in this embodied state that we've wound up in, you belong. Like, if that question is interesting,
oh my God. And
it's not about any relationship structure really, though we certainly are ready to talk about that.
I love that you brought up, I love that you brought up that tension that you feel stepping out of the comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is where I feel safe. This is where I know my identity. There's uncertainty here. I feel unknown here. And I think that is exactly the group of people that will be attracted to, and already, we're already partially filled for the retreat, but for this experience of the nature of relating. And personally, I want to just thank you for being so vulnerable to say, hey, this is a stretch for me, going outside of my comfort zone. I remember the conversation you and I had about that, and where it was like an invitation. I think that that's
good ones. Good ones.
But good ones, when we know that we're like, oh, this feels like it's pulling me in a way. I actually just talked to somebody yesterday about the retreat. And when we were close to getting off the phone, she had tears in her eyes where she was just like, I feel this. I feel like this is what my body wants. Like, I want to be in this space where I have time to reflect on myself, on relating this way, to be held with other people in a safe space. And there were tears that came up. So I think, when we feel ourselves at that point of tension of like, I want this, and it's a little scary, it is such a beautiful point. And I think that that's like my sweet spot. I love that part. I love that tension. And I find that I personally have a relationship to my fear that is like, like I said, we relate to everything. So what is my personal relationship to fear? It's like, oh, there's something there for me. And instead of being avoidant with my fear or try to control my fear, it's like, oh, I feel that. That feels scary. Okay. And now I have a relationship to that, like, oh, I think that there's something there for me. And when I can admit that, when I feel that fear and go, okay, fear, I feel you. I hear you. Okay. I accept your call. And I think that this is a safe container to establish and have that relationship to fear, to say, like, I don't, there's some fear that's like, okay, that's outside of my comfort zone. That feels really scary. And I'm not willing to go there, but I feel afraid here. And I have a different pull to this experience. And I feel like, I have this phrase that I use, and I know we talked about it different ways, but experiential alchemy is what the container that I feel like it is created for the participants of the retreat, because everybody's bringing something slightly different. We all come, none of us have exactly the same relationship structure. None of us have the same life experiences. We're all different. We all have slightly different values, but when we can all come together and be held in a space that feels safe to allow whatever learning there is to arise naturally and organically and experientially, which is why we've planned so many experiential experiences, individual and group. I feel like the learning doesn't have to be controlled. It's just like, you are going to bring your particular syllabus of life to the retreat, and you are going to get out of the retreat what you are meant to get out of this experience, because that is what's there for you. Like, I'm speaking directly to you, Jolie, on like the things that are like you're ripe for, like what you're ready. And then it's different for everybody, including myself. Like, we're holding space also, but also there's experiences for us. So I'm so excited.
So I'm so with you on I've long thrived at what I call the elastic edge of my comfort zone. Like, so I don't want to go out into the fear zone where I've busted the elastic and because at that point I am now dysregulated to a point where it will be incredibly difficult for me to integrate my learning or to even take in, and I might just be in recovery and survival mode. But these are some stretchy lives we've got. Like, we're grown-ups. We've got this like delicious stretchiness, and a lot of us. So for me, place is one of the things that I use, being my psychology of places. It has me rooted here. I'm actually rooted not even just to the land, but to the river that runs behind my house. Ken and I both grew up on it. The river itself has called us back over and over and over again when we've said we should leave, and then we're like, nope, it's actually here. We should leave. Nope, it's here. And we get this message. So that is part of my pillars, but that says nothing about what I can do in the elastic edge. Like, that's what travel is for. Like, if my roots are here, but I get to go be, at the edge. Like, I know that means I will have experiences that push me in ways that I cannot be experiencing here. I just
Yeah.
can't. So it's not just context. I want to like make that clear. It's actually because I will be putting myself into that stretchy edge. I'll be like, okay. And then within the experience too, like I know we designed it so that people can pick and choose. Nobody has to show up for class. Nobody has to like, where you pick and choose. So if you're in a recovery morning and you're like integrating and you're taking this in and you're great, then you'll do that. Maybe you'll be moving on the beach. Maybe you'll be like, what? That's all good, because that's exactly what it's for. It's so that we can show up and there'll be a buffet of options in front of you.
Exactly. I love that because everybody knows what they need. When you can lean into yourself to say like, oh yeah, this topic, I want to talk about this particular topic. I want to be in conversation. Or you're like, oh man, I'm enjoying this conversation with these people here and we're like in flow. We're just going to stay in this conversation and not feel like we're missing out on anything. We are empowered, like we are being empowered to choose and create our own experience of this. And like you said, with a buffet of experiences and options, which I'm happy to talk more about.
Yeah. I think too, when people talk about fear, sometimes there's this great book called The Monarchy of Fear. It's a wonderful book. I really love it because the writer, longtime researcher, really dug into the details and the data, but also just wrote for our personal experiences. And, fear is so powerful and so helpful. And I relate to fear actually pretty similarly to how you do, I think, Megan, though in different areas, right? Our stretchy zones are in different areas and our solid zones are in different areas. But something that I came to be really in tune with through my jealousy research. So jealousy is at heart a fear that a relationship that we value will be interrupted. And in my research, the data showed about 30% of people, and these are very small qualitative samples, so I don't have big numbers, but about 30% of my participants also experience arousal in their jealousy. So to me, I'm like, right, let's not forget that a lot of us feel arousal when we feel fear. Think about getting on a roller coaster. Think about like, right. So as long as we feel that security of the when the lap band like clicks in on the roller coaster, from there on, my fear can be delicious. And I'm in it. And honestly, I feel the same thing even about getting on a plane. Once we're taxiing, I'm like, well, if something happens, then this was the choice I made. And there's this delicious freedom in like having decided. It's total bliss. I love it. So, I mean, that's why that's why I'm doing this with you, because it does put me at that edge where I know I'm going to come up against multiple moments of like, oh, I'm just going to decide and ride the fear. I am going to ride the fear in the sexiest, juiciest, yummiest embodied way I can think of. Okay.
Oh my God, I love this so much. It's such a great conversation. Yeah, that tension that is created from that fear, like if we just did all the things that we felt safe in, there's actually no additional energy generated. And I realized this when I was really young. I decided to be an exchange student when I was 17, and I went to Belgium and I lived there for a year with people I didn't know, speaking a language I was far from fluent in. And so I feel like there's this like, I have a relationship to that, like to the stretching, like how much can I stretch myself? Because I love the excitement that comes out of it. I really do. And I love seeing when I came back from that year and I was like, oh my God, you guys, travel. Like I learned so much about myself. I feel so much more confident. I did so many things I didn't know I could do. Like I know myself to be different than I was a year ago. And honestly, I would get up and speak to any audience that would have me. I went back to my high school. I went back to any high school to talk to kids about travel at that level.
Yeah.
And there might, in an audience of like 300 people, there might be 3 people that came up to me afterwards to be like, oh my God, I would love to go. I don't know if my parents will let me, but there's, and I, not to mention like being 18 years old and like wanting to speak in front of hundreds of people. I think there was some acknowledgement at even that young age that when I put myself into those experiences, standing up and talking in front of people, traveling like that, I had to elevate myself in a way that I didn't necessarily know how it was going to be. And there was some excitement in there. And I think that has continued. I think that there's no doubt in my mind that I have this relationship structure because it kind of makes me be present and conscious in my relationships and with myself at a level that wasn't really required, when I was just relating in the container of monogamy. So I find this pattern keeps repeating. And again, to bring it back to the nature of relating, what if we could see these patterns in ourselves? What if we could see like, oh, this is how I'm currently relating to that element. And this is how it shows up in my relationship with myself, in the things I choose to do, in my relationships with others. Like, what if I shifted part of that relationship? What if I could invite myself into a different relationship with fear or with whatever it is, joy, like, or people or places or things. And like, what if we could have curiosity and play with all of these things, like variables that are part of our human experience? And what kind of life could we create, for ourselves, for our community, for the world at large? I think we need some new templates for our world. So I see the people that come to the retreat as like explorers of a new way of existing and being, and that we're like bringing something new into our personal lives and then beyond. And that's what really excites me. I was like, what can we create together? What conversations are going to light people up that change something, and then they go back to their community, and then something's different, and then they start relating to the people in their community a little differently, and then there's like new possibilities that people didn't know were there. I don't know. I love this whole concept.
Yeah, well, it's helpful to me to remember that everything we do, every single thing we do is, like you said, it will impact everyone around us. We cannot be in this world without impacting others. And I know some of us find safety in crossing our fingers and hoping that that's not true, even if we're not admitting it, right? It's easy to imagine. Even for instance, I watch people open their marriages, and like they'll go from a monogamous paradigm and they'll start to open, and they'll struggle because they imagine that they can somehow contain and cordon off, and there will be no change, right? Like they will remain exactly the same. And yet every action we take, I mean, every single one,
Everything.
it creates change. We know this. I know my audience is well read and well versed. They know that we all change things, but there is something about our embodied experience of it where we can pretend that that's not true. And that sense of, like psychologically, we will do anything to protect our identity. We like that is at core. We will do anything to protect the I am. And I was just listening to Christopher Wallace talk, and he said, it's because the word am functions as an equals sign. And I was like, right. So I am. So whatever I am, I literally am. It is me. So we protect it. And so, for me, it was even thinking about like, okay, I'm going to go beyond Costa Rica's beaches. Okay. That means putting on a bathing suit. I don't love, like, that is not my favorite experience. I struggle with that off and on. I have struggled with it my whole life. I'll still do it. Like I do scary things every day. I'll do it, but I'll do it scared. But some of it's because I'm like, the sun and I have an interesting relationship. Like, so even just relating literally to the nature, where you're like, oh, it's just juicy, and we'll be on the beach and it'll be all the sun. And I'm like, that is scary to me. And and so that's what I'll be dealing with and facing, while we'll also have conversations about like, well, okay, how do we create a really solid relationship agreement that really is more of a philosophy than a set of rules? How do we do that? Like I feel safe, I feel comfortable, I feel so calm and relaxed and regulated. But yeah, when we get on the catamaran, I'm sure I'm going to be like, okay, who's going to hold my hand? Who's going to hold my hand?
I will be right there with you. And I love the everyone brings different gifts, because your space where you feel so solid on like, creating these agreements and like all of that, like you hold such a solid space there. And that is such a gift for other people to step into your beingness there. Right. And for them to be held.
So solid, and they can feel solid. Like you feel solid standing next to me, because I'm like, no, I promise I got this. We can do this.
Yeah. And I will be there holding your hand to be like, your body is beautiful. Feel the sun on it and let it come in as a nurturing resource to you.
That's it.
Let it hit every part and say, there could never be anything wrong with my body because this is exactly how it is.
Right.
And to be in that, to feel that love. And I know that that's kind of my bend, my angle, and what I bring to it is more an element of self-love. How do we nurture ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? How do we allow ourselves to be resourced? How do we create a safe, secure relationship with ourselves? Like, that is, to me, like the super juicy, because things emanate out from there. And I am so thrilled that you hold this space of, how do we work together? How do we create these agreements together? And you do a lot more work with couples. I do a lot more work with individuals in this space. And I think together, like our ability to hold those two pieces and then allow for the freedom of whatever comes up for people is, oh, it's going to be fantastic.
It is. I've genuinely felt every single time we have spoken since we first met, like, oh, we're multipliers. We're meant to be in each other's space because in so many ways we are polarized. I know we talk all the time about masculine and feminine energy, and I could get into that because I have my own feelings about how we're using those terms, not necessarily helpfully, but you and I are polarized in lots of ways. Here we are, both happily inhabiting our feminine, but we're polarized in lots of ways. And that, to me, is where all of my Jungian concepts, all of having been trained as a depth psychologist, I'm like, let me help you feel into that, because this tension is exactly what Jung was talking about when he was talking about the transcendent function. The third thing, the thing that can only be born because these two things are in tension, because they do not agree, because they do not match, because they both repel and attract at the same time. Because of that, this third thing can be born. And like, we're literally embodying it by creating the Nature of Relating retreat. We're like, okay, Jolie's got this part, Megan's got this part. And some of them will feel at odds. Like, I felt that in the conversation at first. I was like, oh, yeah. And the at oddsness is what makes it so much more than if we were like, let's just do this thing. We're all going to learn this syllabus, and we'll like it can't be that way. It has to be messy. It has to be energetic. And very
I
exciting.
love that, the way that you describe it. Yeah, we're creating an energy. And so it is a polarity. I've been viewing everything like a continuum.
Yeah.
You know, that nothing's binary. It's basically a stretched continuum that holds an energetic charge.
Right.
You know, that is why things exist in waves, you know, because we travel through that movement, and the movement is the polarity of the trough of that wave. And there is something that moves, and that is life. Like, that is pure life. If we didn't have that tension or the polarity or difference, if we didn't have that contrast, how would we, I don't know if we would exist.
No,
so I
mean,
love this delicious tension that's there, that's like, oh, this is energy, how are we going to use it, where are we going to put it? All of that.
Yeah, it is like you said, that you are focused on self-love, and I focus on individuation, and they're really just different ways of talking about the same concept, right? Like becoming more whole, but not an undifferentiated whole like a baby, not like that, which is beautiful. Love babies, but we are not babies. I want to be this complex web of differences and charges and pain and like, I'm struggling with pain in one of my body parts right now. And I'm like, oh, right. But every day, I'm very, very alive because I have this pain, right? Like, it's, there's so much good stuff. Like, we can do shadow work around it. We can do existential kink work around it. There's so much we can do, especially when we're in real space together, which is also why this is so exciting, because we'll be in,
oh my God.
In real space.
I love that you brought up even pain, because I think it was a Joseph Campbell quote that said, we don't crave, I'm going to totally butcher this, but we don't crave to be happy, we crave to feel alive.
Right.
And in that is the spectrum of all of the emotions, all of the sensations, all of it. It shows us we are alive.
Yeah.
So I think that is when we stop relating to one side of the spectrum as right and wrong, and stop blocking it, and just be with, okay, can I be with what is? Can I be with what is arising? Can I feel this entirely? oh shoot, there was another quote that came up and I lost it.
It's also exactly how I work with jealousy. You know, there are so many people out there talking about curing jealousy, fixing jealousy, you know, like let's get rid of it. I'm like, ooh, it is just like all of these other delicious experiences. We have to be real about why they're here. They're here because it's part of life. And if you can learn to relate to them with this open-hearted, like, oh, this is me being alive, it feels different. It feels different. It's like, I mean, my latest run-in with jealousy isn't that long ago, and it was hardcore. It's really alive. And right now I'm in full-on NRE, new relationship energy, and it's like another whole, oh my gosh, wow, okay, I'm unmoored. And yeah, when we try to avoid our emotions, when we try, and I mean, I spent those first 33 years trying to avoid them. When we do that, we rob ourselves of so much. But I notice that a lot of times when people are shifting paradigms, or even if they've been open for a long time, but they've been struggling because they've been using like rules-based, like I will keep myself safe. When they finally get to a spot where they're like, oh, you know what? Hang on. I'm going to do the deep dive. I'm just going to I'm going to gather my strength. I'm going to gather myself, and I'm going into the unknown. And that's where everything shifts. Everything can level up. Everything can be more present.
I haven't shared this with you yet, but I have a first introductory activity that I want to do that is related to that, to the unknown, and a reflection back of how we exist in that. Don't worry, it's a safe way to experience the unknown. But I've done it with so many groups, and it brings up so much conversation and so much reflection just from a short 20-minute activity.
I love that.
So yeah, I'm so excited to play and experience things. And I don't know if you want to get into at all some of the actual experiences that we have planned, so people can
let's just talk about
like, okay, great, we're gonna be in there, but like, what are we gonna be doing?
Are we going to the jungle? What's happening? Like, what are we doing exactly? So you know the details better than I do off the top of your head, so go for it.
Yes. So we're going to be on the coast. We're going to be in Playa Grande, which is north of Tamarindo, and that's on the Pacific coast in the Nicoya Peninsula. And this is more of a dry area, although it will be nice and lush and green because it will be just after rainy season. So, it is a perfect combination. But it will be right on the beach. We're not going to be in like solid jungle. People will get to experience water more often. Some of the things that we have planned, it's a mix of things. So personal experiences, ones that allow us to go into our inner experience, and then more group-oriented experiences. So I'll start first by talking about more of the inward-bound journeys. One of my favorite ones that we did last year, and we got a lot of good feedback on it, was a breathwork activity. So it's more along the lines of holotropic breathwork, which is breathwork for 45 minutes. And it can seem really intense. And I know a lot of people were feeling some anxiety before they went in, but it was a resounding, like, beautiful, transformative experience for the participants, because I don't think people realize that they could shift their consciousness through breath alone.
Yeah.
And so that's
I just wanted to drop in, that's Stanislav Grof's work, holotropic breath work. Yeah. And that I just wanted to contextualize that for all of my depth psychology listeners. Like that drops directly into depth psychology. It is not separate. He worked with the same people who developed all of the other. So for me, it's super exciting because it's just one of the embodied practices that aligns completely with the way I think of Psyche. So I'm super excited to have that.
It is. I remember being a little anxious the first time I went into it. I was like, I don't know what to expect. I'm not sure what's going to come up. I don't even know if I can do breath work like that for 45 minutes. Fast forward to the end of the experience, and I was like, oh my God, I was just shown things and received insights that I'm like really clear on. I felt a calmness in my body that lasted a good day or two afterwards, because it really resets the central nervous system. I love it. I've been facilitating breath work over the last year or so. So I'm excited to have people experience that. That's a very inward experience. We'll do it more towards the beginning of the journey, or beginning of the retreat, most likely, so that people have time to integrate some of the experiences from that. There will be movement. So for people that are already comfortable with movement or want to play with that, there will be a range of experiences, anything from yoga to kind of I don't know what to call it. My friend Lisa does these beautiful beach workouts, but they're involved in like getting onto the sand. And you know how as adults, we're just like, oh, sand. Like, I'm not gonna,
right. Like
I don't want to get
let
sandy.
Our body touch it.
It's like we have a fear of sand, but she like brings you into it. We're like, we're going to roll in this. We're going to feel it. We're going to feel our body on it. And honestly, even the science of what happens to our body, we get so grounded in the earth, in the sand. I am on a high for the rest of the day after I do a workout with her on the beach. So I love that, because that experience.
That too, like thinking about it reminds me of contact improv, but with the earth, like directly with the earth. I've
it's
watched
well guided
videos.
and facilitated. Like she was a personal trainer in New York for 20 years. So it's not just like, hey, we're going to just dance on the beach and roll around. It's like, okay, hey, do this movement. Let me support you. Let's correct this a little bit. How does that feel? So I feel so held in her space as she just holds that for people. Nice. And guides us. We'll be doing, if I get a chance, what I love is more of the ecstatic dance experience for the people that want to push the envelope that way and know that when you move your body, there's this inner judge or critic that comes up. Am I doing this right? Does this look okay? Like that to me is a spiritual practice. And I dance on the beach by myself multiple times a week. And it has been a practice to remove, or not remove, but like see my inner critic and say, I hear you and I let you go. I hear you and I'm okay. I'm safe in my body. I hear you and this movement is okay. There's nothing, I could never move my body wrong. How could you move a body wrong?
Yeah.
And so that for the people that want to push the edge, and I'm hoping that it can be paired up with a friend DJ that I'm working on getting in the space to, that's TBD. But yeah, like that body movement to me is a way to bring us into ourselves in a way that I don't think we get to experience very often. And there's no better way than breath work and movement to bring you into your own space.
Right.
I don't know if it's okay or kosher to say we will have an optional psilocybin experience. A smaller, like not a huge dose, but a smaller one that can allow you to step into a different level of your own consciousness and to be safe and held and experience that. And I facilitated this now with women's groups here. And we did it last year. People really enjoyed that. It's not the expansive kind that you're like, oh my God, this was earth shattering, like totally out. I was outside of my body. This will be like a little step into it. And I find that to me, I view psilocybin as ways to reset our nervous system. And they have, mushrooms or fungi have been around for 1 billion years. They've existed on this planet. I think they've got something around like, okay, how do we survive? And I do think that there's a very beautiful symbiotic relationship between the human psyche and what the fungus world can offer us when done in a safe space. So that will be optional for people that want to experience it.
I'm excited that you're holding that space, because I think a lot of people who travel out of country, if you're listening in the US, are curious, like, okay, where could I do that in a place where I'm held safely? And it's not something that I do in my personal experience. It's just not. And I find it doesn't even feel threatening to me. It's just where I live. It's not a thing. And you live in a place where it's a thing. So I like that you're just making this, it is available. There is an optional way for people to experience that without feeling like, okay, I'm going out of country, so how do I do that? Instead, you who have already practiced so much, you're there.
I will tell you, I learned this from one of my friends who facilitates yoga retreats, and people were doing it anyway. She's just like, oh, these people took this whole night or this part of it and they did it themselves. And she was like, I'm just going to integrate it next time, because people are seeking out the experience anyway. Might as well hold them as a safe container.
Right. Exactly.
So, and it is being used in very therapeutic ways. So I do want to let people know it's something I relate to with respect. It's not something that I view as like, oh, let's just go do this and do it recklessly.
Right.
But it is being used for people in a way to support them in their growth, to let go, to move through things, to move, like, I really do think it moves things through our body in a way that sometimes our direct, prefrontal cortex can't, like, we can't think our way through it.
Right. And
This is just another tool.
Maybe this is a good time to mention that the goal of the nature of relating is it's not a hookup event. That's not what it is. I think this is a good moment to say that. Like, so everybody who's coming is an adult. In fact, the hotel is 18 and over anyways.
Yes.
So we're not in charge of what you do with your bodies. That's up to you. But that is not the purpose. The purpose is for us to be in this space where we're really exploring the nature of relating. If you want to talk, in fact, Ken and I have already recorded episodes on how to host a sex party, on how to create power dynamics, all of that, and we can talk about that. And if stuff winds up being explored by people, that is fine. Up to you. Like, you're in your life. And I just wanted to clarify that because I think, unfortunately, there's a conflation out there that as soon as you talk about opening, we're talking about, okay, you have to throw the doors open and you have to just be down for everything. And that is, nothing could be further from the truth for me or for you. I know, like, this is a place where you and I, our hearts are so aligned. So I just want to name that. Like,
thank you for bringing that up.
I'm super sex positive, and that means you don't need to.
Yes, this is about understanding relationships, being empowered in what you do. I'm all about learning and sharing. Like, that, those are my two fundamental values. Like, learn, share. Like, I love talking to people, connecting. What comes out of it comes out of it. I know that 2 people from the retreat last year ended up having a really good connection. This stuff is going to happen. That happens. And like you said, people are adults. And so you do you, boo. Like, you do,
right.
You do whatever feels good, and we won't be keeping track of it. But then the purpose of it is not a hookup. It's not like
there's
hookup
no speed
culture.
Dating. We're not. Yeah.
No,
this is not.
No,
you're
this
not
is
like looking to fill your dance card.
No, because this is really get to know you, get to know, like, what does it mean to relate? Like, and honestly, that's even, I think, more probably could be more scary than like, just these physical experiences.
I think that's actually the thing. So the last big event I went to before COVID kind of put the kibosh on all the events that I went to, it was, total hookup culture. It was very much that. And it was great because we all knew going into it that was exactly what we were going to. And it's a completely different experience. And I noticed how many people had checked their emotions at the door because of it. And so that we can't do the work that we actually want to do if you check your emotions at the door. So that's why I think it's so important to say, we are super sex positive here. I will go to bat for anybody who wants to talk about any of that. I am a certified sexuality educator. I love that. And there's so much more to talk about and to be with. So I don't want people to focus on that, because if that were the goal, there'd be so much that we would all miss, because we might have our attention in the wrong direction.
So I'm going to add another boundary pushing request is that I like to limit alcohol on this. So I stopped drinking for a full year during the first year of lockdown. And that actually was super helpful in my own personal evolution. I didn't realize how much I was just even reaching for a glass of wine when I felt a little bit of discomfort. So I'm going to invite people to not drink alcohol for the majority of the event, knowing that when we go on the catamaran, like, okay, great, like, have a little bit, maybe the final farewell dinner, have a little bit. But I actually think it takes, like, I want people to be as present and conscious as possible. And I find that alcohol numbs us. It numbs what we're feeling. We can't, like, it might release some inhibitions, but we can't check in and be with ourselves in a way that we can when we're completely conscious. So I think that piece for me would be a request. It's not, if people end up deciding like, oh, they want to drink, great. Again, like, people are adults, they're going to do what they're going to do. I'm not here to police, like, I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to do anything. I'm here to make the request to say, if that would push your boundaries to be in a social situation and not rely on alcohol to calm your nervous system.
Right.
Yeah. Like, if that is a stretch, then I invite you to do it. And I think you will be pleasantly surprised at how you feel in your body, on what's available, and how you're able to be and create in these intimate moments with people, just being yourself,
Yeah. I see, and that feels like a perfectly yummy request to me, because I'm doing ISTA soon.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I've heard so much
And
about it.
same thing, like
Mm-hmm.
we're not drinking during that
Mm-hmm.
experience because it would block us from having the whole experience. It's, I don't feel
Yes.
judged in any way about that. I just like, oh, that's just, we just want to be present to the experience. And I'm excited because one of the ways that I feel safe is when everybody is checked in and present, like my nervous system chills.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who are struggling, if you're at your growth edge, not using alcohol for that, then remember, so Ken and I both teach neurosomatic intelligence. We are both available and around. Ken loves just, like ask him for a deep dive. And like we can set you up with a few tools to use to re-regulate your nervous system quickly in those moments when you're like, oh, this is when I would reach. This is what I would do. Yeah. Like we had
Mm-hmm.
this handy toy box filled with like, hey, let's play with these tools instead. And it's really,
I love
really
you
helpful.
guys. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. On that note, can you talk a little bit more about the workshops that you're going to be presenting on?
Yeah. So
Because I just talked about the individual experiences, and then we also are going to have these group workshops available.
yeah, I'm really excited to so my people often ask me like, why do you do this work? And I'm like, okay, here's the thing. I do this work because non-monogamy is an individuation opportunity. My core commitment is to individuation. So I want to do shadow work with you. Like, okay, and what does that mean? What does that really mean? So the term shadow, right, comes directly out of Jungian psychology, based out of thousands of years of pre-writing by philosophers and religious thinkers, and bringing shadow work into our lived experience takes it out of the Instagram world of like, let's all
Mm-hmm.
do our shadow work, and like, let's actually just be there and do some of that. Um, Specifically around the topic of NRE and jealousy, because those two
Mm.
topics often cause like great big stuff to come up. And that doesn't mean like you may even just witness someone else doing a piece of shadow work around their jealousy or around their experience of NRE. You don't, we can do this in a small group and hold that space and say, okay, the most delicious experiences of shadow work I've ever had were witnessed ones where I'm being witnessed by safe watchers, and the watchers receive as well. Like there's the
Mm-hmm.
gratitude, and we'll hold that with gratitude and clarity. And I also like, I mean, that is part of individuation work. Jung said that the shadow it's the narrow space we squeeze through to get to the rest of our work. So a lot of times people stop there. They're like, okay, I did my shadow work. Like, first off, it's never done.
Yeah.
So there you go. But also, it is only the squeeze through. That is only the entry point to knowing yourself. So I'm really excited to talk about how do we make agreements? How does that actually work? Like really, just how does it work to have a relationship philosophy? Uh, like really. And I know you are super jazzed about this too. I feel like this is a conversation
I'm like,
we
I
have
want
to
to be
be
in on
in.
this one.
Yeah,
I'm
we
going to
have to
be.
be, because so frequently people are making uh, they're making rules to try to protect them, and I understand
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
And there is a next level. Like you will, after you've done that for a while, you will probably find that you're ready for a relationship philosophy, but some people never get introduced to it. So I'm
Mm.
jazzed about
I'm
that.
really curious because if anybody has listened to Amory podcast, they know that Marty and I, when we opened up our marriage, everything was rules based.
Yeah.
We did that. Now looking back at it, I'm like, oh, that's what was creating safety. The
Yeah.
rules were creating safety for us, as they do for society. There's a reason that we use rules, and I think that there is that next evolution up.
Right.
How do we understand ourselves so much that we can let go of the safety of rules and actually be present in the moment of what is emerging, and to be emotionally current and to state our needs and make requests of our partners, and like it's much more flowy than the
Right.
rigidity of rules. So I am very interested in that.
Yeah. And that's, so what I have a framework and I walk people through it through the year of opening and through my private coaching. So we obviously can't do all of that because literally I teach this for a year. We talk and work our way through this and we like, and it's awesome, but we can get into, okay, how does that work? How do we live it? How does that happen? And like Ken's going to be there. He and I have been doing this we've had a relationship philosophy for 14 and a half years, 15 years on the nose. We'll be there on our anniversary. Yeah, like on our I love you versary. So I'm also excited to just, like have people be in our space and be able to ask the questions that I know that they want to ask, like, so, but really how? Like, how does that actually work? And I think it's important. I'm glad Ken's coming because he's been open his whole adult life in some form or another, but has also existed in monogamous containers. And oftentimes I notice that the men in the group really want to talk to another man who has really been through this and worked on it enough that it becomes who you are. Like I'm in full-blown NRE and this human is standing next to me, like with so much compersion, I cannot even, like, he is like a full moon to my son right now. And that is not something, like, it's not an expectation. You don't have to, it's not better than, but it's because he's spent 56 years becoming who he is that's possible. And he's not perfect. God knows he has his flaws, but I think it's juicy to say, Ken is not a professional, like he's not a psychologist. He's not a therapist. That's not what he does. He's a software architect who does this work because it matters to him.
Yeah. Who's embodied it.
He's embodied it. Exactly.
Truly embodied. And that is knowledge, that is wisdom at a different level when it's embodied. And that is my aim and my hope, is that when people leave, they have embodied a piece, and really settled into their nervous system, into their identity. And I remember the piece that I was going to talk about before is the reason our ego gets so threatened is that if we do put ourselves into situations, we are at risk of quote unquote dying to the person that we were.
Exactly.
That is a true ego threat, to be like, I may not know myself when I come out of here. And if we can hold ourselves in that space to know, okay, part of me may quote unquote die, change, whatever, but what can emerge? And that to me is so exciting.
Right. So 2 of the things that I want to bring are directly related to that concept. One is the shadow work, and let's be, so NRE and jealousy are the easy ones, because then we can get into the sexual shadow. And this is my favorite. I love the sexual shadow. People often think that sexual shadow work is going to involve like BDSM practices and kink and whatever is in their imagination of that. But sexual shadow work is actually much more profound than that. And all of it is about allowing for the ego death, because that's what shadow work actually is. It's allowing for ego death so that you can know more of yourself. That's just another language for it. But the other piece I want to bring is my inner counsel process, which will allow you to meet the parts who are currently waiting to be born. Like they want to be known, right? There they are. And I was trained in Jungian psychology, and later then I trained in more traditional modern psychotherapy. And in the modern psychotherapy world, we have this internal family systems model, IFS, where people talk about parts work. Super important. I love that. And it works wonders for so many people, but I've simplified the process into my inner counsel process. And I leave your so-called parts as whole autonomous beings who exist within you. And it's not complicated. It's 5 steps. It's, you can do it with crayons. It's very, very straightforward, but that again, doing this in community, being witnessed, welcoming your counsel in, you want to blow the doors off your soul. It will do it. It will do it.
Oh,
so yeah, that's some of the juicy stuff I've got for you.
That and more. What I love about the opportunity to come together for days on end is that the workshops trigger and bring up things that then trickle into these really beautiful organic conversations. And as you allow yourself to meet others in these organic conversations, these aha moments can happen sitting on a catamaran,
Right.
looking out at the ocean, where something just like, whoa, we continue. It's like we are bringing up all of this stuff to the forefront. And then I trust that here's again where experiential alchemy comes to play. Like I trust that people are going to create the experiences that are perfect for them in that moment. A conversation, something that's sparking your interest, someone that you're like, I don't know why, but I need to talk to this person. Or wow, what they shared really impacted me and I want to go let them know. And then all of a sudden you're in another conversation and these beautiful breakthrough moments happen organically. And
Yes.
they're not just organically like, oh, we don't know where it came from. No, we know that we have created the context and
Right.
sprinkled in some conversations that are triggering these beautiful moments if we allow for them,
Right.
and that allowance is, can we create a safe space with some energy? It's like safe space with a little bit of tension.
Yeah. Courageous space. Courageous
I
space.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I personally, I'm excited to just be present. A lot of times when I do go away and teach, or I'm speaking, I notice that anything outside of the bubble of my official, like here, I've taught this. There are two kinds of people. They're the kind who come up and they will like just glom on and they're like, okay, now I'm going to get the teacher's attention, right? And then there are the people who really genuinely want to be in contact and want to converse too, but are too shy. All of that is good. And I just wanted to name that, like, my goal is to be present with you. Like, this is a horizontal
Mm-hmm.
experience. I happen to come with a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of stuff that I've been cooking up for a decade and a half, but I'm just there. So you
Yeah.
don't need to be in that polarized dynamic of either like, no, I'm going to give Jolie all her space, nor do you need to feel like, oh my gosh, I have to go ask all my questions in this 5 minutes, because we're just going to
Mm-hmm.
be there together,
Yeah.
hanging out, having conversations. And that's really exciting to me, because during the time that I've been teaching as a sex educator, I teach on kink, I teach on non-monogamies, I teach on imagination, I teach on creating safe spaces. I teach teaching, which is really interesting. There's often not that conversation, but where there is, that's where the magic happens.
Mm-hmm.
So much amazing stuff happens in those in between synchronicities that just, yeah, you can't
Yeah.
have to be in it.
No, I remember from last year, I remember sitting down at lunch and I learned so much at an informal lunch conversation from a handful of the participants that were there. They were sharing their experience. And I remember there was this moment with one of the participants, and she was sharing the way that she relates to herself and her body and her ability to be intimate with others. And I was relating my experience, and I'm like, oh, I have so much to learn from you. Like, I didn't
Mm,
know that perspective. And she was like, oh my God, I'm being introduced to your perspective. And I didn't know anything about that either. And so we came together in this mutual learning from each other to say, like, I'm familiar and safe over here and you're familiar and safe over here, and look at what we can bring. And
yeah.
that was just an organic, unplanned moment. And that's just one of many, many, many that occurred for me, for other people. And that I'm sure, we can host up to 40 people for this retreat. So this is not going to be a small group. We're
No,
like,
I think it's
it's good.
perfect.
Like,
I
it's
think
a
it's
good
perfect.
amount to have lots of interaction with a lot of different people. And already the people that have signed up are from different places, have different experiences. And I know half of them that have already signed up, and they're like, I know the quality of individual that is coming to this.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the amount of exchange of information, the creation of fun experiences and memories, and then having friendships and connections that last much
Right.
longer than just the
Yes.
5 days or 6 days we're together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if a WhatsApp chat group doesn't come out of this, what will we really have done? I don't even understand. No.
Oh,
This
it's
is,
going to start beforehand.
yeah,
We're going to start
exactly.
we're going to start beforehand getting used to each other. And my intention and hope is that we can bring people together on calls so we can actually lay a little bit more of the foundation for what it
Right.
is that we'll be experiencing together, some of the concepts, because the time is limited, it's
Right.
finite. And so we will be able to have these workshop experiences. And I want to make sure that there's like a level of yeah, vocabulary understanding so
Yep.
that we can come together and hit the ground running to be like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do it.
And if people have ever worked with me, then they know, like, all of my clients receive, they're all in a coaching hub where all the vocabulary is there, all of your resources that are there, all of everything that's been recorded is there. Like, I am an organizer by nature. So if
you're so organized, I love you.
If you happen to be type A or type A minus, I'm your girl. And I'm this way because I was raised in utter chaos. So this is my safety. It helps me. But like, it also helps us create meaning. We cannot actually create meaning without shared meaning. So I love that we're going to do this. And both you and I are expert container setters. So I'm very excited to have a container where I don't have to hold the whole thing. Like, I get to be with you and also be held. That's really exciting for me because usually there is a like, okay, I got it. I'm holding the thing. This time it's both and that's very exciting. Oh, Megan, I'm so excited about this. It's going to be awesome. So if people are wanting to come, where should they head, Megan? I'll put the link. Is there an easy link? I don't think we have an easy link. I'm going to have to put it in the show notes because I don't think we have an easy link.
I don't know if we do, but we can create it. It's all of the information, including pictures of the place that we'll stay, the different prices. Oh, by the way, I don't know when you're publishing this, but we've got our early bird discount that lasts until June 30th or July. Okay, June 30th. So if you're looking for $200 off, that is already included in the prices, and then they go up by $200 after that. So please book soon.
And people on my mailing list, I have a stack of bonuses as well. That's worth actually the cost of the retreat. So if you happen to want to talk to me about your relationship, about your structures, about what you're doing, I'm offering a breakthrough session. And then if you want to also be part of the year of opening, there's a special bonus for you for that. I will make sure that there is an easy link as well. And Ken and I will pop that into the beginning, and then we'll put it in the show notes. So you'll be able to find this. The nature of relating is going to be magic. Megan. And tell everybody where they can hear more from you and about you.
If they want to find more about me, Amory Podcast. So it's on all of the different channels. Instagram at Amory Podcast. My personal handle is The Loving Challenger. What else? Yeah, I mean, I think that's good.
A good place people to start. Dip their toes into the waters of Amory Podcast, because if you like playing with fire, I feel like we're sister podcasts very much. So awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, Megan. This is going to be awesome.
Thank you, Julie. I feel like the energy is already there. We're just living into it, and then we get to experience it.
Yeah. There's no one right way to design your relationship, and lots of people, actually about 25%, according to a recent national survey, are interested in some type of open relationship. But how do you know if you are ready to open up happily? Not everyone is, and that's no problem. I've got a 60-second quiz that will give you the answer. And even better, you'll walk away with your next step, whether you're good to go or not so much when it comes to opening up. And this is no BuzzFeed nonsense. I personally designed this quiz from my years of academic research. Go to joliequiz.com. That's JOLIQUIZ.com and find out if you're ready to open up happily and what to do if you are or if you're not.